This is an Extra 106.3 podcast. To hear more live and local content like this, tune into 106.3 FM or download the Extra 106.3 app. Extra 106.3 and a Second Chance Bail Bonds are proud to bring you Justice Unfiltered. Real conversations with real people from every side of the justice system. From the latest in law and order to the voices of those impacted, changed, and working to make a difference. This is where truth meets transformation. Now, it's time for Justice Unfiltered, presented by a Second Chance Bail Bonds on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra 106.3 app.
Welcome to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3. My name is Tug Cowart, along with Daniel Matalon. He is the CEO of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring. And Lyndi Schmidt, who runs the monitoring side of a Second Chance, has decided to come in this morning as well. Man, I'll tell you, but show two, I feel like you've taken this to this like a duck to water.
It's you, Tug. I enjoy having a conversation with you. You're great at this.
Come on. It's really because John Hayes is here. Let's be honest, right? That's really the reason.
Yeah, I think I wanted to give him a little bit of fame while he was in town.
Okay. John, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to come in.
Thank you for having me. I don't know if it's fame or infamy, but one of the two.
Right?
I'm here for both.
That's right. Absolutely. John is the president of JSG Monitoring, based out of Michigan, provides electronic monitoring devices and technical support to courts, law enforcement agencies, and monitoring companies nationwide like a Second Chance. Walk me through how you met Daniel.
So Daniel actually came to us through his relationship with Jeff. We got brought in a couple of years ago, and we had a brief meeting, I think, with Daniel, Lyndi, as well as a couple others from their team, and quickly identified there's a lot of cohesiveness to what they do, what their goals were, and what we do and what our goals are. So it really came through that relationship, and we've built on it over the last couple of years. I think more than either of us probably thought initially, but it's been a really good partnership for both, and we continue to grow together.
Daniel, help me understand the partnership a little bit. So Lyndi walked me through a little bit before. There's the makers of the devices, and then there's the partnerships that y'all have because you do the same type of business.
Yeah, so Jeff, I was talking with Jeff and dealing with Jeff on the bail side of stuff with Universal Fire and Casualty on the bail bond side of stuff. And then obviously then we were discussing the JSG side, the monitoring stuff. And honestly, it was a timing thing. And it was a really good fit for us and has been a great fit for us. And so, yeah, great partnership and looking forward to continuing that.
Lyndi, help me understand. Okay, so you have a device maker. You walk me through this a little bit. You described it like a car dealership, like that. You got the manufacturing, and then you got the actual dealerships that sell the product.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's several different manufacturers out there. We call them an OEM, and they build these devices. They are the true technology behind each of the devices, whether it's GPS or alcohol. And then John and his organization at JSG, they go out and create these partnerships with them. They become subject matter experts, and then they come and support people like us. You know, I think we've talked before about how we literally built this from the ground up, one monitor at a time. And we hit a level where I went to Daniel and was like, we need support. I've learned all that I know that I can learn, but there's more to learn. So where do we go from here? And just ironically, JSG and John entered the equation. And like John said, we sat down at a conference table and I kind of talked about my pain points and what I was having. And Daniel really hit home where he wanted to go with the business. And after some conversation, decided that they were kind of going to be our mentors and our partners in this. And so, yeah, so it's like a funnel effect. You got the OEMs, you got JSG, and then you have us.
There you go. So it seems like a good funnel to be in. So, John, you saw the possibilities of monitoring. You saw what was out there. But at the time, the way I'm understanding it, it wasn't all that good. You were like, I can make this better. I can improve this.
Yeah, so about 15 years ago, I got in this industry, and what we quickly found out is, like both Lyndi and Daniel are talking about, they have manufacturers. Think of it as Ford and GM. Ford has really good trucks. GM has very good cars. Let's just say that for instance. But a lot of these manufacturers want the providers to carry their equipment only. When was the last time you went to a dealership that had brand new Fords and brand new Chevys on the same lot? Doesn't exist, right? So what we did is we built these relationships with these different manufacturers so we can have the best alcohol device, the best GPS device, the best wrist-worn device, and kind of cohesively mesh the best of all devices. We're not particular with one manufacturer. We offer the best of each products. When you combine that with a level of service, and Lyndi talked about earlier the pain points, most monitoring companies start with one bracelet, then they get to 10, and within a year they get to 50, 60. I don't know that anything Daniel does specifically goes slow.
Yeah, I've seen that, actually.
He pours gasoline on everything that man does.
In the couple years that we've worked together, I've seen that a little bit.
Yes, yeah. So there's a lot of things that you naturally learn through 1 unit to 10 units to 50 units. Unfortunately for a second chance, they went full board 1 to 1,000 overnight. There's going to be some pain points. So what we identified very quickly with our relationship is, hey, we made these mistakes over the last 15, 20 years. Let us tell you the mistakes that we made. Therefore, you don't have to make them. And ironically, there's very few of them. But when Lyndi talked about mentorship, it's more of the, hey, this is where we've had success or this is where we have not had success. So you get the best of both worlds. You'll get the best technology that's not just from a manufacturer. It's, hey, I mean, we're in town for a conference. We have 10 different devices on our table. What one court or one sheriff wants, there may be a better option for them. We don't just say, here's the one device we have.
The one size fits all thing.
Right. So we can tailor that. You combine that with the level of service that they give, which is the same that we emphasize anywhere we go. It's the best of both worlds. We can confidently say there's never a room that we're in with electronic monitoring where we are not the best. And I'm not saying that to be cocky. It's we offer specialized service with the best equipment. You can't lose
Nobody
that.
else does.
Right.
Lyndi, I want to go to you because John talked about mistakes. Can you look back and say, we were probably going to make this particular mistake, they were able to help us avoid that pitfall? I'm sure there's probably lots of them that now looking back that y'all just didn't have the expertise until then.
Yeah, Tug, let me tell you about one of the biggest probably mistakes, if you will, that he helped us avoid. When we're a reporting agency, right? And so when someone missteps, we have to report that to a court. Well, on the tail end of that, sometimes these judges want you to come in and testify, right, to those reports that you've created.
That feels uneasy.
Right?
That makes me, I didn't even have to do it, and it makes me feel uneasy.
Correct. So, as we grew and John was there, the court started requesting us more and more. And so I went to John and I was like, what do I do here? Like, what are the do's and don'ts? I've never had court training. I've been on the stand once or twice. It was very easy. But as these cases got more complex and the reporting got more complex, I was like, John, how do I do this? What do I prepare myself for? And him and his team actually hosted a court training for us. So really mentally, physically prepared us to go in and talk to what we do all day.
What does a court training look like? Because I feel like if I'm calling y'all if I ever have to go to court, I'm calling y'all first thing. I'm going to need that mock-up court thing that y'all did. Help me understand how not to step in a pothole.
So step one is a good Bloody Mary mix.
Okay, see, there you go.
So you sit down.
I like this already. I feel like we're trending in the good direction already.
You sit down with a good Bloody Mary mix, get a good drink going.
Settle my nerves a little bit.
No, so much of court is really in the prepreparation of court.
Are you saying that's not real? That the Bloody Mary part was not real?
We'll talk about that. No, when we're done here, we'll talk about that.
Gotcha.
No, it's so much of it's in the preparation. I've heard some really good testimony from people who are the most knowledgeable in the industry at what they specifically do. They get cocky, they walk into court, they don't have some information they have. So a lot of it is walking them through strategically what the preparation looks like. What are you watching out for before you get to court? Knowing what the violation is, specifically understanding the technology. Once you understand the technology we have, there's really not a question that you can be asked that you don't have the answer to. Technology is not infallible, right? I've testified in more cases I'd ever cared to talk about, but it's not infallible. It's when you apply our criteria for a confirmed tamper, confirmed consumption, confirmed violation, that while it may not necessarily still be infallible, it will hold up in court. And when we're sitting in court, we are 100% certain this violation occurred. If we're 95% sure, we're not going. We will openly tell them, Judge, 95% we're confident, but the 5% that we're not, we don't want them to go to jail,
Yeah,
to
sure.
have a
And
sanction.
we don't want that on us.
Right. And it's the same thing as what we do. So a lot of it's in the prep of that. A lot of it's also in the presentation of the equipment, understanding. If we had a GPS sitting here right now, I could tell you how it worked. But if we're preparing for court, it's not just how it works functionality-wise. It's what's the data looking at? What are we looking at for the violation? What did the judge order? Is that what we're violating on? Judges write, I mean, I'm sure in Fulton County you have 30 different judges that write 30 different orders. What does that look like? And understanding all these nuances, when a defense attorney is asking you or the prosecutor is asking you, you have the answer.
Gosh,
I'm not
so
offering opinion. This is facts.
Yeah, so many layers, Daniel, to the onion, especially when you get to court, because that's where the rubber meets the road. I mean, everything
100%.
else is like, oh, it's great to know this, it's great to know that, but being able to layer all of those in one, I would assume one document or one presentation, so there's no stone left unturned.
Yeah, and that's where we bring that unique perspective, from the bonding world, and then connecting it into the monitoring world, which is what makes us different, I guess.
Yeah, Lyndi, starting out, I bet you didn't know all the things that that you're able to gather and know now, because you talked about just the I guess pitfalls that John was able to help you avoid. With y'all starting out, how quickly were you able to ramp up? How quickly did you feel confident in what y'all were doing at a Second Chance Monitoring because of John's help?
Yeah, so take it back a little bit weird story. We didn't start with John.
Oh.
And so...
Well.
Right. So first isn't always your last, right?
That's right, absolutely.
So, but the last is always the best.
That's right.
Right? Isn't that how it goes?
That's what I've always heard.
So,
That's right.
when we started with one, we ramped up pretty quickly. There's a lot of work that goes into that, whether it's like a RFP, which is a request for purchase with counties, going out, doing lunch and learns. But we really hit the pavement running, and we were making these connections, selling the monitors. I was using my cell phone. I was the agent 24/7. My husband, who probably doesn't get enough credit, was also answering the phone and checking the dashboard.
Yes, thank you, Shane. Thank you, Shane.
It was
A very patient man, Shane. Yes.
It was just us. But as we grew, Daniel's such a great businessman. I was able to have open conversation with him, like, this is 24/7, Daniel. This is not, just hope for the best or a report the next morning. This is live time. This is, if we're going to be the best, we have to be here. And so we were able to build, and he took the risk, and we put in people in place before we had the monitors or the numbers in place, and we were able to grow. But with the growing pains, right, we were with other agencies that helped us along the way, and they taught me a lot of things. They just weren't quite as hands-on.
Probably taught you a lot of what not to do.
A lot.
And then John comes along.
And I'm a visual person. I'm a hands-on learner. I want to see it. I want to do it. And John really resonated with me on that, and he understood that and was literally able to sit down with me and go through. I was able to articulate what I'm looking for, and he was able to go through those things with me, and that's really what has led us to where we are today. So when you talk about ramp up, it wasn't overnight, but it was overnight.
There you go.
It was overnight compared to what I've seen anywhere else in the country. They had a lot of, so while they didn't start fresh, they started fresh. They had boots on the ground. They understood the technology. They understood who else was around. They knew what the relationships with the court was. It wasn't they were starting fresh, but their ramp up, there's companies that have been around 25 years that haven't hit the numbers that they did.
Wow.
And that is a testament to what the foundation they had to begin with, as well as the relationships.
Says a lot.
And to Lyndi's point about the, prior to us, a lot of manufacturers will come out and they will sell the equipment. I'm not talking bad about that whatsoever. However, the follow-up and the constant training afterwards isn't something they've really ever been into. Some of these manufacturers are competitors of ours. They sell equipment to resellers, but they also have their own book of business. We come in and make true partners. You need something, Daniel's called at 10:30 at night. Lyndi's called at 2 in the morning. I mean, it's just, we're here for it because we also live it. And I did like how Lyndi said that she used to be on call 24/7. She's still on call 24/7. Believe me.
But you've helped that. You and your company have helped that a lot, though.
Yeah, but I can tell you that in our industry, the successful ones are ones that never clock out. Mm-hmm. We're available 24/7 because we work too hard to miss something at 2 in the morning.
What the information that's gathered at, say, 2 in the morning, when we come back, breaking down the GPS ankle monitor, how you track location, how often the data is sent, and what monitoring systems see on their end. Next on Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3.
Now back to Justice Unfiltered, presented by A Second Chance Bail Bonds on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Welcome back to Justice Unfiltered with Daniel Matalon of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and A Second Chance Monitoring. His sidekick, Lyndi Schmidt, partnership. You have a great partnership with our guest also this morning, and John Hayes of JSG Monitoring. So, John, I'll come to you and talk about the things that you get from the ankle monitor, like the actual location of people, tracking the activity, how that data is sent and where it's sent, and then what y'all see on your end.
Yeah, there's multiple different GPSs. However, all GPSs work traditionally the exact same, with a couple upgrades in the last decade or so. Everyone's familiar with a GPS in your vehicle, right?
Sure.
What happens on a GPS when you're driving down the highway? Well, maybe not in Atlanta, but
let's say you go in the Northeast Georgia mountains.
You're driving down the road. You have your GPS on. You're supposed to go straight, but you decide to get off an exit to get gas.
I got you.
What happens as you're going past the exit? Your vehicle still thinks that you're on the highway until you turn off. That is a different GPS because it's projecting where you're going to be. The GPSs that we're using in the criminal justice system don't project anything. It takes that point as it plots and puts it exactly where it is, right? So the majority of the GPSs will take anywhere from 3 to about 15 GPS satellites, and it will send a signal from the satellite to the GPS device. Won't get too much into it, but through that triangulation can identify where that bracelet is. That data is then routed through either the cellular network or Wi-Fi to relay where that device is at. Big cities, it's a little more difficult. They're very, very, very accurate. I would say through all of our clientele, most GPSs will put them within 15 to 20 feet of where they actually are. So I'm sitting here right now. If I'm looking at that on a map, I could be 15 feet that way, 15 feet that way. And sometimes, we're talking within 3 to 4 feet of where they are. Extremely accurate. That data then goes to our database, so through the manufacturer software, and plots that on a map. Generally, we get 1 point every minute. That data can then be transmitted every minute if you want for a higher risk higher risk client, or every 10 minutes. Some bond agencies even run more because they just want to see if they're still in the city. But generally, we take 1 point every minute and transmit that every 10 minutes.
This sounds like to me, and y'all probably laugh at me, this sounds like Life 360 to me when you're trying to keep up with your kids. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I think probably people listening right now, when they hear you talk about that, John, that's what they're equating it to, because that's what people use to make sure that their kids are where they're supposed to be. They're at school, they're at church, or they're at ball practice, or whatever it is. Obviously, y'all use it for a much different reason, like giving people the opportunity to have their freedom when they've done something or been accused of something. But it sounds like it kind of works the same way. Am I way off base here?
No, you're not. I think the only difference is if your 14-year-old doesn't want you to know where they are because they have Life 360, they put their phone on the table, they walk out the door, you never know.
Or turn off the location services on their phone.
Right. So it's very similar. It's a little bit different technology. Obviously, GPS devices are very expensive because it has tamper technology. Sure. It has more than I think even I fully understand, and is going to continue to evolve. So it's much more difficult. I've worn it, GPS devices, 50-plus times trying to beat it. With our knowledge base, if it's difficult for us to beat, that means we're trending in the right direction.
What are some of the things that y'all tried to do to beat the GPS?
Well, the more creative ones are the alcohol tampering. So we have clients that are on devices to monitor if they're consuming alcohol.
Sure.
Those people have been much more creative than the GPS folks. Chicken skin, bologna, just about every nasty scenario you could imagine.
Well, you gotta help me understand. You can't just say they tried.
Tug is so confused right now. Tug is like, what is going on right now?
I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. What do you mean chicken skin?
John, you're gonna have to explain.
John, I was
please
afraid.
explain.
I opened this
skin.
can of worms myself. I get it.
Please.
So. CAM, continuous alcohol monitor. It's just like a GPS. It's affixed to your ankle. Think about it this way. It's a PBT for your ankle that takes a sample every approximately 30 minutes. We know if you are consuming alcohol because of this device. One way to combat that, according to Google, is to put something between the tether and your ankle.
So you take a little red bologna strip off and lay that thing and then connect?
The people that think they're creative, let me tell you, we've seen literally everything.
There's nothing you can do that we haven't seen.
No. So back to the original point, you see a lot more tampering with alcohol monitors
Makes
than
sense.
GPS. A Second Chance does such a good job on social media of marketing the equipment, but the frequently asked questions that most people never get an answer to. People have done something from foil to different cloths. They try to beat the technology, but what they fail to know is that we're constantly tracking a lot more than just their location. When they're tampering with the technology, we can see that they're doing it. So while they may think they're clever, it's just a quick trip back to the county jail.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, which is a good reason not to do it.
And in a lot of states, and Michigan included, it's a 2-year felony to tamper.
Wow.
So you could be on a 90-day misdemeanor. You tamper with your GPS so that you can go out and hang out with your friends tonight, and now you have a 2-year felony.
Lyndi, is that something that I would assume y'all tell people, hey, you realize, like, we're giving you the golden opportunity to keep some normalcy in your life, but if you were to get some kind of bright idea, and I know human beings are flawed characters. I'm one of them. I couldn't be more flawed than me. But you have to let them know, do you realize things are trending in the right direction for you? But if you screw this up, things are about to get way, way worse. When you talk about felonies.
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of what we do, is explaining that we are kind of their last ticket to freedom or hope. And so they can mess it up. There's lots of good stories about people who think, oh, it really does work. People do try to run.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But when you tell them that, even I know, but I would imagine most people, maybe I'm wrong about this, most people are like, I don't want this to get worse. Like, I see the benefit that I have with this opportunity. I don't want to mess this up.
So I don't know if it would surprise you, but 80% of people on a monitor just do right.
Okay. That's
80%
good.
of the people are doing what they're supposed to.
The fact that you get 80% of people to do anything is a miracle, John. I mean, 80%?
Hey,
That's a big number.
in our office, we say 20% of the people are 100% of the problem.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what it is. And the success rate nationally is much lower than 80%, depending on what the monitoring level is. And I think that's a really good shout out to A Second Chance on what they do. So much in the monitoring world is about the relationship between the monitoring company and the client. What you're going over at the time of installation, the constant follow-up, the constant, hey, if you're struggling with something, let us know. We have a vested interest in you being successful. We get, once in a while, we have a client, you just want me to fail. No, we don't, actually. That's why we call you consistently. That's why we work with you. That's why we make sure you're making it to your court dates. That's why when you have a problem, we tell you to call us. A Second Chance does that. That high success rate isn't a fluke. It's the work that they're putting in.
When you say someone has struggles, is that not being able to put down the drink? You know what I mean? Is that, am I hearing that right? Like where you would get them a counselor for alcohol, as an example. Just me pulling at straws because I don't know.
That's some of it, but a lot of it, especially on the GPS location monitoring, is, hey, I need to go to the grocery store. Hey, I have court tomorrow. I don't have transportation. Hey, I don't have this. A Second Chance has the relationship with the courts. So oftentimes we specifically hear from defendants, my attorney won't call me back and I have this problem. Okay, who's your judge? We'll make the call directly to the judge or to the clerk and say, hey, this is what's going on. Can you work with this guy? It's using our relationship to also help the client. We want success, whatever that looks like. It's different in every case, but that relationship that A Second Chance has is a huge benefit to the offender without them knowing. A Second Chance has no success when someone goes to jail and that monitor is removed. They are trying to make a difference in these people's lives. And the people that are more open with us, to your question about up front, what are you telling them? We're telling them, if you need something, call us. We want you to be successful.
Right. Yeah, it's a continuous conversation.
Yeah, which is great because that's right. The more you communicate, the better, right? And in any line of business, 100%. no matter what your line of work is.
We're not here to just put a monitor on somebody and say, "See you in 90 days, 180 days. Good luck." Good luck. That's not what any of us are doing. There are some that do that, but it's not anyone in this room. I can tell you that.
I love the fact you said, John, that you have relationships with judges, with lawyers, with court systems, because you are an expert witness. Over 50 districts and circuit court cases, testified in 450 cases with a whole bunch of acronyms that I don't know. So I won't even dive in and pretend like I know what I'm talking about there. But you don't become an expert. You don't get that label of expert handed to you. It is through experience and through proving that you have the knowledge, right? And I know you've shared that with a Second Chance. We'll get that in a minute. But that's something that you've earned.
Right. So when I started this 15 years ago, I went through a couple trainings, and I'm just a natural, I want to know everything. If we're talking about this water bottle, I want to learn everything there is. Some of that is through hard work in the courtroom. I went to a couple trainings. They throw you into court, which everyone here knows. They throw you into court, and they're like, all right, have fun. You know enough to be dangerous. You get asked a question. You confidently say, I don't know the answer to that question, but here's what I know. You walk out of that courtroom, you go right to your computer, you go right to your phone, and you call someone way smarter than yourself to say, I was asked this question. What's the answer to it? I
never want to have that happen again.
Ever again. It's complacency, right? So for the first 5, 6, 7, 8 years, there was phone calls after every single court case to the point where finally and confidently, you can't ask me a question I won't know the answer to. The answer might not be one you like, but so going through that, probably 250 court cases to where I was in front of the same judges so many times that you finally get qualified as an expert based off of your knowledge base, your testimony, and then from there on out, they really don't enter you as an expert on every case. There's some reasons why, but when there's a true violation where the defense is trying to raise these issues or they bring in their own expert, that's when expert testimony is much more valuable than what lay testimony is.
Sure.
So you get through that. There's pros and cons to being entered as an expert the first time. Everything you say at that point can be brought up in the future as a lay witness. That generally doesn't happen. But it gives more credibility to the industry. Manufacturers love it, right? Even the ones that we don't necessarily carry the product for, because more and more courts are saying, okay, yeah, this is real. This stuff matters. And the technology works. So it's 15 years of going through it, but it's important.
I would imagine, Lyndi, having the partnership with John and JSG and the fact that he gets called as an expert probably answers a bunch of questions that you haven't had to face yet, or at least in the beginning. And then they might not call you an expert yet, but I bet you work in that direction.
I think that's the hope, is to be dubbed an expert witness. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons we're with JSG, is I can call and ask the questions. I am a preemptive person. I don't want to say I can predict the future, because I can't.
Nobody got a crystal ball.
I don't, but I can see a situation and I can call John, walk me through this, talk me through this. And if I've never been in this scenario, I'm calling him first. Like, what can I expect, or what should I expect, or prepare me for the unexpected. And that's really what has helped us grow in the past 3 to 5 years.
And Daniel, that makes you incredibly confident, I would assume, being in a courtroom that Lyndi, through John and through the relationship, through the partnership with JSG, that your staff,
they are much smarter than me
is
at all this.
Very prepared.
And that's the goal, right? Is to align yourself with people much smarter than yourself, or people that are actually moving the industry forward, and that's what JSG is. So that's why it's easy.
But with your business, though, your name is on it. So all of a sudden, even though you're not the expert necessarily, you have the people around you that are, because you have to, right? You can't walk into
100%.
You can't walk into a situation where you don't have the experts, or you don't have the expertise to do what needs to be done
at the highest level.
It's exactly right.
That's
why it's so important to have great partnerships and great people around.
And
you.
the thing with A Second Chance, Daniel specifically, is he is a man of his word. If he's saying something, it matters. When we say something, it matters. We're not surmising what could happen. We're not surmising what may have happened. If we can't definitively say this is a violation, we are not going into court. And I will say, Lyndi, I think we're 0 for 3 where I was heading to the airport to get on a flight to come down here to testify as an expert in a case, and they plead guilty. So I'm 0 for 3 without even showing up.
That's a good spot.
Just saying.
Or is it vice versa? Is it you're 3-0?
Well, it would be 3-0 if we were here, but I haven't got here yet.
I haven't got here yet.
You're so good that you don't need to be here.
I know, but I'd rather be 3-0 than 0-3. So.
That's right, exactly. That's why I think you go with that. Yeah. What is it that judges and attorneys and people don't understand about monitoring that they need to understand, like they're still not getting, do you believe?
That's a hard one because it varies court to court. I mean, we have multiple courts in Michigan where you have 6 judges in one courthouse who don't agree on everything, right?
Oh, wow.
It's very difficult. I think it still isn't totally utilized the way it should be. COVID made a huge push to release on GPS monitors, on straddle cell cases. Go home, don't leave your house. If you leave your house, you're coming back. It has saved counties millions and millions and millions of dollars. Oftentimes, that is more pretrial conditions than probation or after the case is closed. I can tell you we've had dozens of clients who came in and said, this device changed my life, specifically alcohol, where clients are ordered to an alcohol tether, they are released, and they come in and say, can I still wear it, though? We offer a great discount after it's not court ordered because they're like, this is the first time in my life I've been sober. This is the first time that I've had this. So once the court isn't able to hold on to that client anymore necessarily, clients realize the accountability is huge. People who have been alcoholics for 50 years who have finally sober for the first time in their life, their kids are finally part of their life again. Their family wants them around again. They're employed again. So I think part of that of what the courts don't understand is how much of an impact it's making even after they're out of their control. And also, I think on GPS devices, and I'm sure they've seen it as well, where we have clients who come in and put themselves on a GPS because of accusations that are being made against them. So I think the technology still isn't totally utilized. They do a lot of lunch and learns where they go into courthouses and say, hey, we aren't selling you anything. Let us show you what we do. And you'll see judges who are like, oh man, I didn't even think about that, right? One of my favorite cases, we had a GPS training for a large court of ours, and we were talking about different zones. So an exclusion zone is where the offender can't go. An inclusion zone is a zone where they can't leave. And we said, well, if there's ever a case where the judges want, we can do what's called a neutral zone, which means if you have extremely violent offenders that are on GPS devices, do you think a judge would want to know if they're at their house?
Yes.
There's a neutral zone that you can set up around the judge's houses so that if an offender's at their house, they can get a text message right away. I think a lot of courts still don't understand how the technology can be utilized, and all of us are trying to educate as much as humanly possible. We're doing a monthly training just to say, hey, this is what the devices are. So I think the educational piece still isn't there. They're doing a great job at educating. We're doing a great job, but the equipment is constantly evolving. So what's here today is probably going to be different in a year.
Literally.
Yeah, so what about Georgia courts? Because he spoke specifically about Michigan courts. What about here in Georgia? What are y'all seeing as the shortcomings?
No, I think there's a bright future for it, right? But I think it's all how you put it together. And I think we're doing a good job of that here in Georgia, balancing a lot of that.
Are you seeing any of that, Lyndi, where judges or lawyers just don't yet realize, like he talked about the setting up the barrier for someone going to a judge's home or a lawyer's home. Is there anything like that you're seeing here in Georgia that they're not utilizing?
Absolutely. Like John said, we do a ton of lunch and learns. I've tried to make it very evident. A lot of what we do is educating the public, educating the defendant, educating the lawyers, the judges. There's just so much to the technology that can be a proactive or preemptive source. So, yeah, it's absolutely happening here. And we're in Alabama and Mississippi, and we're seeing it there as well. So it is pretty consistent across the board. It's just getting out there and not selling you just a GPS device like Life 360, but a tool, accountability tool. That is like our...
Yeah, it's great. I think there's one huge asterisk here that I failed to mention. A device is only as good as whoever's monitoring it.
Correct.
You can bring a Formula One car in here and have me drive it. I'm not going faster than 55 miles per hour.
Right.
This equipment, a lot of providers carry the same equipment, but a lot of providers aren't answering the phone at 2:30 like Lindy's talking about. A lot of them don't have 24/7 monitoring like A Second Chance and JSG do. The equipment is still only as good as who's supervising it.
When we come back, I want to figure out who you're doing Lunch and Learns with. I want people to understand who is it that you're trying to educate? Who is it that could benefit from a Lunch and Learn? We'll wrap the show. It is Justice Unfiltered on Extra 1063 with Daniel Matalon, the president and CEO of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and A Second Chance Monitoring. We've got Lyndi from A Second Chance Monitoring here, as well as John Hayes from JSG Monitoring. We'll continue next on Extra.
This is Justice Unfiltered, presented by A Second Chance Bail Bonds on Extra 1063 FM and the Extra app.
Welcome back to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 1063. My name is Tug Cowart, along with Daniel Matalon of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and Lyndi Schmidt of A Second Chance Monitoring. And our guest today, John Hayes. He's the president at JSG Monitoring. I asked you who would benefit, Lyndi, right before we went to the break, who would benefit from sitting down with y'all and understanding more about the technology that y'all are implementing?
Anyone who is in the criminal justice field that's looking for a second chance. Anyone who's looking for a different methodology for accountability. So whether it's criminal defense lawyers, a recovery center, accountability court, superior court judges,
clerks.
Literally anyone who's in the criminal justice arena that's looking for an alternative to incarceration. We would be happy to sit down with any of them and explain to why we should use technology over incarceration.
How do they get hold of you? Just in case somebody's listening right now and they're like, I'm that guy, I'm that person.
Yeah, obviously you can call us 404-419-2052. Can reach out to me personally, Lyndi, Lyndi, at asecondchancemonitoring.com, and I'll be happy to come out.
I love that. John, you are the president of the National Association of Service Providers. What does that mean? How is that helping push this technology and this industry forward?
It means a lot of work for no pay.
Oh, well, wow, sign me up.
No, so
how do I get to join in?
Yeah, you can have it. No, so over the last 15 years of me doing this, it was quickly identified there's a lot of very, very reputable companies that do the right thing over and over again, but equally there's a lot of companies that really don't. We've talked to multiple people who run businesses in almost every state in the country, and it's constant that their pricing is being undercut by a guy who works out of his vehicle who can offer the product at a cheaper price. Daniel knows that if he only had to have one employee in his whole organization, he could make a lot more money.
Sure. That's your biggest expense. It's any company's biggest expense.
Right. It's the biggest investment, but that's also what sets us apart.
Sure.
A lot of the courts don't understand. So when I'm charging $10 a day and someone comes and says, I can do it for $5 a day, no matter how much they like me, they're going to listen to them.
Get what you pay for, though, right?
Well,
it's beyond that. But.
Yes. So, but not just that. There's some other issues where there's been clients who have had GPS devices on their legs that weren't being monitored. So what we came up with is we need to set a best practices, not just for other companies, because there's a lot of reputable ones that still don't quite know what to do in certain situations. They don't have a mentor that they can call and say, so tell me again. There is some secrecy from the very reputable ones. Like, well, we don't want to train our competitors. Why would we want to train somebody to do it like we do in our own backyard? National Association of Service Providers came from, we want to help train. We want to get rid of the bad guys, meaning identify these people aren't doing what they're supposed to. It is a legal obligation to us to notify the courts that this person is not monitoring their clients. There is victim safety. There is so many issues. So what we did is we reached out to some of the largest monitoring companies that we've had relationships with forever and said, hey, do you guys want to go down this path with us to create this national association? We spent about a year formulating a master best practices document away from all the manufacturers. So there's no opinions in this. There's no device specifics. But if you are monitoring a client out of a court for a domestic violence case, what does that look like? What should you be doing? So we're very close to rolling that out nationally. We're going to have conferences, trainings, but more importantly, we're going to have certifications and audits. Daniel says, hey, Lyndi, I think our company's really good, but we want to have someone come that doesn't work here every day and see if we're following the best practices. They can then bring us in and say, well, the association, whoever the auditor is, say, hey, can you sit here for a week, look at our operation, tell us what we do well, but tell us where we can improve.
Yeah, where are the holes?
Right. This guy's been doing it for 35 years. Have him come in and tell us, whether we take it or not. We want to be able to see an unfiltered view of what our operation looks like.
And does it help limiting liability, I would imagine?
So in our industry, it's very difficult to get insurance. I can tell you that. Very, very difficult. So part of this, we're working with an insurance provider to say, hey, if this is a certified provider, meaning they do best practices, they check these 5 boxes, the premiums are going to go down because they're covering reputable companies who are monitoring this 24/7 and not a guy in the back of his truck who knows a guy.
Yeah,
So they're installing some devices.
Not a fly-by-night.
Right.
Yeah.
It's expensive to run a monitoring company the right way. We are very staff heavy.
Daniel, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it just is. It's expensive, right? And then you got we won't get into
but you can't afford not to. If you're going to do this the right way, when I said earlier they jumped quick, they had a base of people who already understood it. A lot of companies, they don't.
Lyndi, how does it help you from your perspective? How does it help you having a national organization like that is rolling out all this, and it just benefit you? You didn't have to. You didn't have to go do all the research. It's done by somebody that you already have a relationship with, that you have respect for, and they've already been a proven person in the field.
Yeah, Tug, I think that's a loaded answer for me because at the end of the day, we are a service provider and we are a business, right? Even at my core, if I want to do this for free because I want to help people, Daniel still wants to make money. It's still a business.
Right.
And so there's competitors out there, and this national association allows us to work in the same space at the same level. So I'm competing with the same style of person, the same level of person versus, John Doe that's doing it from his car that may or may not be doing the 24/7 monitoring. This is a public safety matter. And so for John to go out there and align it already for me is great. And if you really want to talk about that insurance thing, if he said, here's an insurance company that's going to cover you, I just got 40 hours a year back in my life so that I don't have to go shopping.
Saving you time and giving you credibility.
Absolutely.
And why what John's doing is great is because it does speak to public safety. I mean, you have to have some checks and balances, some boundaries, and
which is the whole point of doing what you're doing.
It becomes the Wild Wild West, and in this type of work, you really do. It's people's lives. You have people's safety at risk. I mean, it's a delicate subject matter. So I wouldn't cut corners in this area.
There you go. It's been such an informative show, such an entertaining show, and we've run out of time. But John, thank you for taking the time while you're in town to come sit down with me, and Daniel and Lyndi, and help people listening understand. Help those guys do such good work. And, man, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I hope it won't be the last time we get to see you.
Thank you. I will be back, and I will bring Bloody Mary mix next time.
Let's
just saying.
Go. The show, I mean, it's already, let's call it a good 8. We'll turn it up to 11 with margaritas. I feel certain.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
Turn it up to 11 all the time.
No, margaritas even better. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, you said Bloody Marys. I said we can get both.
Hey, I'm good.
I don't know
one in one hand, one in the other.
There you go. For Lyndi and Daniel and John, I'm Tug. This is Justice Unfiltered.
This is an Extra 106.3 podcast. To hear more live and local content like this, tune into 106.3 FM or download the Extra 106.3 app.